Well, hello, I am Cryand or Creand or whatever you want to call me, doesn't matter, and this is my video about Foundry. Now, this video is basically sort of a demo. There's people that, I was talking to some friends and they're like, I'm interested in Foundry, but, I'm pretty used to Roll20 or whatever, and, I just don't know what Foundry does. I kind of want to see what it does before I, decide to switch to it. So, this video's for them. This video is for anybody else who feels the same way. The biggest difference between Foundry and Roll20 is that Foundry, you have to host it somewhere yourself. So I'm not really going to get into how that's done. It's just something you need to consider if you're going to switch. Roll20, you just go to roll20.net, and then you just, make an account, make your game, have your players make their accounts, send them invites, join your game, and you're good to go. Everything's taken care of. With Foundry, you have to download their program, either run it off of your computer, get a server that you can run it off of, or pay somebody else to download it and run a server, which there are services that do that for you. Off the Foundry website, you can see some ways to do that, but we're not really getting into any of that because this isn't really a tutorial. This is more of a demo, show you what the thing can do, show you some of the setup that I have, all that stuff. So this is the Foundry experience. This is not a tutorial. So Foundry, regardless of what method you use, is accessed via a browser, which you have here. I'm not going to use this one. This is for demonstration in a little bit. But you access it through a browser, unless you are the host of it and you're hosting it from your own computer. Then it's got its own little app that you're running it from. But otherwise, everybody accesses it through their browser, through whatever URL. Okay, so this screen is what you see when you're logging into a server. Since I'm the game master, I will log in with my game master key. We'll get into this in a second. All right, return to setup. So this is the way in. The person running the game, the creator of the Foundry server, needs to log into the setup before any game can be created and accessed. So I had to set up an admin key. If you haven't done that yet, then you'll just go straight here with no admin key, and then you can set one up. So first of all, game worlds. This is where you would create the world that you are actually going to access. So you can install one if you have, a JSON file for the world. But most people, you're probably going to be creating your own. And this is the menu to do that. Enter the title. For me, it's Creus. Worlds, this is the data path on the server where Foundry is running, where the world's data is going to be stored. And by data, I just mean the basic stuff, like basically just text. As far as files go, that's a whole other thing that we'll get into in a little bit. Game system, I only have 5e installed, so this is all I can choose here, but this is where you would choose that. Background image, you saw that big scary guy when I first started up the video. That's the background image that I had set. Next session, self-explanatory, reset active modules. I assume this just resets tons of stuff that I don't want to reset, so I'm not going to bother with it. And world description, type in whatever you want. And then you would create the world, and it would pop up here, and you could do stuff. But before you do that, you got to set up your system. As I said, I only had 5e installed, and this is where you do that. You can choose from a number of systems that come with it. And for me, it's just 5e because that's all I play at the moment. That's that. Now modules. This is the bread and butter of Foundry. This is what will hopefully one day push Foundry into being the best VTT there is, maybe. And that is that it is open source. It has a module manager. Literally anybody can look at the code, write their own mod to do whatever you want to modify or add to the Foundry capabilities. And this is where you go to install those mods. The ones that they have listed, I'm not sure what decides what goes on this list, but regardless, here is a list of mods that are listed within Foundry. There are a lot of them. You can do a lot of stuff for a lot of specific systems. I haven't even looked through this whole list. It's too big. I've just gone off recommendations from other people. I will be giving you my recommendations at some point in this video. We'll just get to that once we're there. This is where they would appear once you've installed them. There's compatibility risks for some of them, compatibility unknown. I haven't run into an issue because of this yet, but it could happen. Next up, the administrator password that I had entered when I first logged in here. This is where you would set that up. And this, since this is a server, this is the port that you would access the server from. This is where Foundry's data will be stored on the server. This is the default world. I haven't had it set up, but for me it would be Creus if I was going to. Now, if you are running your own Foundry server and you have a domain name that you are using for your players and yourself to access it, you can have an SSL certificate there. And this is where you would enter the SSL files. People can access your URL with HTTPS instead of just HTTP words. So AWS configuration path, this is if you have an S3 server where you're storing your files, which is really cool. I do not have that, maybe one day, but for now, that's blank for me. And this is where you go to update your thing. Mine is already updated to the latest version, so there's nothing to do here. You can change if you want to go to the beta version or the alpha version. But yeah, this is where you would do that. You can check for update, see if there's any. Now, let's launch the world. In we go. All right, I appear to have been automatically logged in as the game master. So let me log out so I can again show you the login screen. And here we go. Anybody who goes to your Foundry game will be greeted with this screen ideally. This is where they would choose who they are. They would have an access key to fully log in. You can see the session details, the role description that were entered before, the big guy in the background that I mentioned. I am the game master, so I'm going to select game master, enter my key that I had set up in a way that I will show you later. And so the first thing you may notice is this game paused thing. And what that does is prevent the players from moving their tokens around. So if you've got a situation where the players just walked into something and you want to freeze so that you can set up and describe what they are seeing, then you can hit pause so that they don't start moving their tokens in places where you don't want them, and that kind of thing. Here is what I have set up so far. Now, I just switched to Foundry this week, so I don't really have a lot of content in here. Here is a world map that I have set up for my campaign. So these, the darkened spots, the lightened spots, that is a mod that adds Simple Fog of War. There is no Simple Fog of War by default. I'll show you that later when we start talking about mods. So when a person logs in, they are greeted with whatever map is the default, and they can scroll around it at their leisure. Now we can also see what a player might have activated. On my GM screen, you could see through the Fog of War because I had set it up that way. But on this screen, all they can see is what was revealed. But for now, GM screen. All right, so first things first, we have the chat. This is where roles show up. This is where text chat shows up. All that good stuff goes right in here, the same as it does on most VTTs. All this good stuff. You can roll /R or /roll, I believe /R works. 1d6, yes. 1d20. I don't know if you can hear the rolls because I don't know if I have it set up properly. 2d20, keep 1 because you have advantage, plus 10 because you are a master. Boom. Nice. You can click on this to see what the rolls were. A 9 and a 17. Not bad. Good old 36. Let's go to the next menu. So initiative, we will come back to. Scenes. All right. So this is where maps are stored. I've got some folders with some maps in here. Here's the continent map that we're currently on. That's the setup for it. So let's look at a different one. Let's go to one where the players have already been. This one. Now, in order to actually load a map, you can click Activate. That will activate it for everyone. But if you're just the GM and you just want to look at it yourself, you will have to add it to navigation. So, boom, add to navigation. Pow. Now, the GM can view the map. Let's backtrack to the initiative. Since it was the next tab, let's do that. So if you want to roll initiative, this is one of the most important features if you're going to be running a 5e game, so let's get into it. You click the plus button, that creates an encounter. To add people to the encounter, you can individually have them or yourself click on Toggle Combat State. You right-click on their token, Toggle Combat State, boom, he appears. Or you can do it en masse by selecting everything and clicking Toggle Combat State on any of them. And boom, they are all here. This is the initiative order. In order to actually get the rolls, you will click the dice or have the player click the dice. Okay, let's activate this. Boom, now that moved the player over. All right, player's over. Now let me show you something real quick. First of all, you can see each other's mice. So that's where my Chrome Window's mouse currently is. Now because when I set up the Elistaria continent map, I allowed players to navigate to it, they can navigate to it. Even though they're supposed to be on the Dawn Containment Temple, which is in here, they can still back out and be like, I wonder, we're in here RPing, discussing what we want to do next. We're like, which city do I want to go to? Well, it'd help if we could look at the map. Oh, look, we can look at the map. Nice. Without the DM having to drag us over there. Not bad. So, that out of the way, let us see. Now that everybody's on the initiative, see, Grim himself can be like, yes, I would prefer to roll my own initiative. And boom. there he has rolled his own initiative. You can see here. So let's go back to here and let's roll for everybody else. So now that we have rolled initiative, we can say begin combat, and bam, there we go, up to the top. And each character in turn can do their good stuff. And then next turn. And then next turn, etc., 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 etc. And we are good to go there. So that's pretty much how initiative works in this. I may as well move on to the next thing. So as far as setting up a map, what you got to do is create a scene. Now, here's your scene name. I'm just going to create a demo one, so we'll just call it demo map. Journal notes, I don't know what this does, so I'm going to ignore it for now. Now the map. So the way Foundry wants you to set up a map is to have just one image, one background image that is your map. If you have multiple different things going on at once, like for example, this map has two different maps in it, the one up top, one up bottom. I'll show you how to do that later. But what Foundry wants you to do is just have one single background image for your map. So I'm going to grab one off of Imgur. So how do you do that? Well, what Foundry would want you to do is to have all of your files, all your maps, all that stuff stored on the file server where Foundry is running. And that is what this is. This is the data folder on that file server. Certain people can upload to it so that you can then select what you want. But what you can do instead, if you're me and you don't want to have a bunch of stuff uploaded to your file server, is paste a link in there. Now, not all links will work. There is some issue with the cross-origin something or other that will prevent some websites from loading, but Imgur works. So we're going to use Imgur, and boom, there's my map. You don't see it yet, but you will. Width and height you don't have to worry about. Those will be automatically set. This will be the area color outside the map, so it's kind of a reddish map, so we'll set it to a reddish color. These are pretty self-explanatory, you know. What kind of grids do you want? I love hexagons, but sometimes maps just got to be square. Grid size, self-explanatory, this kind of stuff. Shift horizontal, you kind of got to see the map first before you know how it's going to align. Grid size, if you're a normal grid, it's 5 by 5, but if you're like on a world map, you could change this to miles or something, and however big you want your hexagons to be. Grid color, just what color the lines are. Grid opacity, how, you know, the alpha of them. Token vision, now this is whether tokens can see on the map. If this is unchecked, then everybody can just see everything. Whereas if it's checked in, then only what their token can see will be revealed to them. Global illumination, this is if you want lighting to be manually placed or if you want the whole scene to just be lit up. Fog exploration, this is if you want players to be able to see where they have been. It will be grayed out, but rather than just being blacked out like it normally would be, they could still, you know, see it. This would have been called Advanced Fog of War on Roll20, but I can happily inform you that unlike Roll20, this is actually functional without lagging your game into oblivion. Darkness level, this will, I'll have to maybe demonstrate that, but that will make, you know, simulate night conditions. It'll make the map darker if you drag it over. Now, I don't use any of this. I'll set it just so we can demonstrate it. Audio playlist. This will automatically load a playlist when you load the map, I guess, when you activate it. Initial view position, this is where the screen will be centered when the map is first activated. Now, this is what I was talking about before. If you want players to be able to switch to this map at their leisure, you would go Accessibility, All Players. Whereas if you want to control whether they can look at it or not, and they can only look at it when you activate it, then you go GM only. Show in navigation, this is the same thing that I did over here with the right click and put it up there, that it has to be shown in navigation if people are going to be able to click on it and load it. And navigation name, this is if you want your thing to have a different name. So, for example, Dawn Containment Temple first, if I wanted that to be named something else, I would put it down here as, I don't know, Miscellaneous Temple whose name you don't know. And then up here it will say to the players, Miscellaneous Temple that name you don't know. And then you can obscure names and information that way if you so choose. For us, demo map's fine. And I believe that's all we got here. So, click. Looks like we have to activate it if we want to be there, or add it to navigation. And here we are. This is the map that we just created. We can see the rainfall falling down. You can see all this stuff. If we want the grid to be lined up now, There are a number of ways to do that. There are mods that will do it for you. One of them, no, this one. This is a mod that I have that will align it for me, where I can go BAP. This is a 3x3 square right there. So click, and it's not lined up. So another thing the mod can do, horizontal center right there. Vertical center right there. And boom, now you can see the grid lines are lined up with these little plus sign thingies on the map that are supposed to indicate where the grid is supposed to be, because this map had a grid on it already. So we're good to go there. So this is the mod way of doing it, by the way. But if you want to do it manually, you would literally have to come in here, configure, mess with these settings. But I didn't want to do that, so I installed the mod that did it for me. So let's put some stuff on this map by first clicking over here. So let's get Grim on here because he's our demo PC. Let's get, I don't know, Midnight out here, because who doesn't want the literal God of Magic's avatar to be chilling with you? And then let's grab a Fiend, because this is hell. So why wouldn't there be a Fiend? A Cambion. Stick him, yeah. And we'll put him over here. All right. Can he see? No. Grim can see, though. Yeah, for the DM, when you click on a token, if the token has its vision all set up, then you will be able to see its vision cone while you're clicking on it. So that's why Grim can see what he can see. So we won't go into the character sheet yet. First, we'll finish up this menu. So this is items. That's the name of it, but it's actually anything. These are feats. This is an item. And as you can see, these are the types of things that will be on this menu. Weapons, items, equipment, etc., but also classes, spells, and feats can also be added to this menu. And you can choose whether or not the players can see them. In fact, let me show you that on the PCs. Configure permission. That's where you do the things. So limited means all players can see that he exists, but they can't actually see what's on his character sheet. Observer lets them see the character sheet and all that stuff, and maybe even the token vision. I'm not 100% sure on that. And owner is the owner. They can edit it. They can do whatever they want. And so it's limited for all the other PCs, all players, so they know that Grim exists and they can see him over here. But only James, the owner of Grim, can edit him. That is how you set up the permissions. These go in the character sheet. These are draggable onto the character sheet. So when we get to the character sheets, we will discuss what those look like. This is for handouts. Most of these are just testing homebrew rules. Don't judge me. I'm just trying them out. They're not official. Yeah, that is a handout that all players can see because I want them to see what the options are there. They can't edit it. They are observer. This is the rollable tables. Here's a lingering injury table, everyone's favorite thing. Click roll, does this little thing. BAP. It rolled a d20. I don't know why it cycled through there like it was randomizing them. Because it wasn't. It was rolling a d20, and it rolled 11, and therefore Horrible Scar comes up. Horrible Scar. That is a rollable table. Music. Now, I'm not going to play any music because I don't want to have to worry about copyright. But, yeah, you can create a playlist right there. It doesn't matter if you shuffle it or not because you can just change that later. These volume controls are only for the person controlling it, so I'm not setting the volume for anybody else. I'm only setting it for me. I've got my playlist set up. I've got tons of tracks all over the place, and if I want to just, if they enter a boss fight, boom, boss fight. Adding a track, it works the same as with images, where it wants you to store them on your file server, which I did in my case, but you could also link to a file externally by pasting it in here, or upload a file if you want to. Alrighty then. Now here's the compendium. This is what probably most people are going to be using to fill out their character sheets and stuff, and what DMs you might be using to add stuff to your game. But yeah, so if I want an adult black dragon, bam, adult black dragon. And now we see a monster character sheet. Let's move him in here. This is his home now. All right. We'll get to the character sheets later, but this is just, your brief visual vision of it. That's one way to add a token. You know what? Let's go to town. Let's let an item appear here. Can I add an item to oh, everything is an item, so yes, I can. All right, spells. This dragon is going to be able to cast Druidcraft, because he's a nice black dragon who likes flowers. And boom, now Druidcraft is in his spellbook. What else can we do? Bags. This is a cool thing, but it's a mod, so we're going to do it later. Monster features. You could drag those out too. Items. Can I give him an item? I don't really need to go into all this, because literally just showing you the one drag is really all you really need. A halberd. This dragon has a halberd. This dragon's going to do a halberd attack. I clicked on it. Everything you see here is a mod, by the way. We'll get into that as well. That's the thing. Let's close it up. Close it up. That is the compendium. That's how that works. Main menu. This is where you can do stuff like reload the application. If you are running it off of your computer, not in the browser, you're actually running it as the Node application, then you would need this if you wanted to reload it. But this takes you back to the menu where you select your character. We'll do that in a second. This takes you back to the screen where you know, set up the world, set up the system, set up the modules, configure the server, all that. That's what the setup is. All right, anyway. Configure players. So this is where you set up who can log into your game. I got my 4 players here, and you can set up their access keys that they need to log in. Create additional, adds a dude. This thing will let you see the password. This is the role. This is me, the game master. All right, get out of here, player 6. Nobody likes you. And by the way, all those permission levels that we just saw have some preset definitions, but you can also configure them specifically in this menu here. So you can decide which things you want which level to be able to do. All right, back to this. So the main menu just gives you some stuff that you could otherwise do. Press escape to close it. Now, configure settings. Let's go into configure settings. So this is just general Foundry settings. It does random stuff. Some of it's self-explanatory, some of it not. Just showing you where stuff is. Module settings. Now this is worth getting into. So let's do a simple one like pings. In order to do that, let's see it. There you go. Boom. In order to do that, you need a module called pings. And this determines who can do it. This is the button. For me, it's left click. You can force people to look where you're going. You got the picture. Let's move on. All right. Configure players. We already did that. Return to setup. We already did that. This is a module-specific thing because the Combat Utility Belt decided that they were special and they wanted to add to this menu instead of the Manage Modules menu. So whatever. Oh yeah, we didn't do the Manage Modules menu. Okay, so this is where I showed you before where you install a module, but the module doesn't actually do anything until you check it in here and then reload the game. So this is my module list. There's a lot on here that we will get into later, but for now, it's there. Now we got controls reference. This is for if you want to see some cool stuff, what the system can do with your keys. Documentation, I'm pretty sure this opens their website. This probably also opens a website. Invitation links, I don't know what that is. I think that's if you don't know the URL to your own game. You can click there and it'll tell you. I'm not going to click it because it might expose something. But there we go. There's the menu, which you can close by clicking that button. Let's go to character sheets. We already did initiative, right? Yeah, we did initiative. Yeah, let's go to a character sheet. So, 2 ways to access a character sheet. You can go to the menu, click on it, boom, or you can double click on a token. The difference here is prototype token will change. So if you're clicking over here, it doesn't know what token you want. So all you can do is edit the default token that will be created if you drag this onto the screen. That is what prototype token is. And with that, you can click and assign to use an existing token. Or if you don't want to use an existing token, you can make all the changes in here and then click update token and it'll do it. Let's go ahead and just go into all these settings since we're here. Token name, Grim, obviously, Grim. If you changed the name to something else here, the token could have a different name by entering it here. Display name always means everyone can always see it. Owner means only the owner can see it. Hover means anybody can see it if they're hovering. Owner hover means only the owner can see it when they are hovering. Control, I don't know what that means. I've never used it. Moving on, Grim. So this is the represented actor. This means any like data on this token will be connected to this character sheet. Link actor data makes it so if you change anything on the token, it will change it on the character sheet. Otherwise, it will only change it on the token, and it'll just get the default values from the character sheet. Token disposition. This will change the highlight color of the ring around it. So let's... I believe she is set to friendly at the moment. Let's change that to neutral. I don't know what you did, Grim, but the avatar of the god of magic is no longer friendly with you. You are in trouble. Oh, what did you do now? Oh, Jesus. You are done. She is hostile. The game is over. All right. So that's what that does. You can set the image token here for the specific token, which can be different, as you can see, from the artwork. You can have different ones. And you can enter an Imgur URL or any URL if you can get one that works, or you can upload as we talked about before, or choose one that's already on this file system. So the wildcard images thing, I recommend you look at their documentation for that because I'm not 100% sure how it works. Position, this is only specific to an active token. So if I do it on an active token, boom, you get the position. That is literally the position on the map. But you've also got elevation. Elevation is a cool thing where you can sort of say, hey, they're flying. Look at plus 15 feet. And by default, it's purely visual. It's just a note for you. But you can have a mod that makes it very relevant because there's a mod that allows you to set elevation to walls, not just tokens. And then if you have a wall that goes from 0 to 5 feet, then a token on the ground can't see over it, or maybe they can, I don't know, I'm just picking random numbers. But a token that is flying can see over it if they're flying above 5 feet. So that is really cool. Moving on, vision. So he is a half-orc, which means he has 60 feet dark vision. So you put a 60 in there. Now, unfortunately, I don't think this functions like dark vision. I think what this does is automatically makes it dim in that radius. But as you know, if you play 5e, if there is dim light there already, then you will see bright light there instead. I don't think Foundry can do that, unfortunately. But you do have a bright vision radius if you need that. If you are someone with like Devil's Sight, like Gad over here, he sees in bright light at all times, so he would change that number. Oh yeah, has vision, that's just if vision should be taken into account at all. Like, as you can see, this is because Grim has vision, but because Mistra does not have vision, it just doesn't even care. It just shows you everything. And you're good to go. As far as this is if you want their vision cone to be limited, which I have never done, but I'm going to do it now because I want to see what it looks like. So we'll go here, we'll go vision. He can only see 90 degrees because he is a newbie. And there you go. That's what that looks like. Oh, stop it. Vision. All right, back to 360. All right, and then same thing for emitting light. It's the same as the dim and the bright there. The light color, you can change the light of it, and you can change the opacity of it. So those are some cool things that you've probably seen before. Now, resources, you get 2 bars to work with. He's using his HP, and he's using his primary resource, which, as you can see over here, is his key points. So this is the same as the name. You can see who sees it and when. All right, so we're done with the tokens. Onto the character sheet, I guess. Let's start with a monster character sheet first. So this is a little simpler to look at. As you can see, we have the God of Magic in avatar form. So she is ridiculously overpowered, but she doesn't do anything but stand around and deliver exposition, so that's okay. So this is what that sheet looks like. This is actually what a sheet looks like, because you can choose different sheets for different monsters. I am using a mod called Tidy5e, so I have a Tidy5e NPC sheet. The default one, I believe, looks like this. It's bad. It's a little more buttons to click on in order to get the information that you want, whereas Tidy5e is tidy. For Tidy5e, if you're using that, this is where everything is. You got your skills. If you want to change proficiencies, this applies to any sheet and player as well. You click on it any number of times. You can have regular proficiency. You can have half. You can have, what is this, expertise or nothing. Here's all their cool stuff. You can edit it. Click the button. They have, automatic selection here. It fills it in for you. Or you can manually specify down here. Also cool. Now, the feats. We already looked at this a little bit with the dragon, who I gave a halberd and druidcraft to. Let's click on edit one. So a feat. Here is just the text of it, but in the details, there is a lot of complicated stuff. Now, a lot of this doesn't do anything. Like, I think the usage, for the most part, does nothing. I think the only automation that is here whatsoever is if you set one of these to short or long rest, and then she can't do it because she's an NPC, but if you take a player, if you click one of these buttons to take a short or long rest, it will restore anything that you have set to restore on a short or long rest. So, for example, his key points come back on both short. Oh, I messed it up. It's both short and long. So if he clicks either of those, they will reset to 13, and he'll be good to go. So that is one piece of automation that I think comes from this. Everything else, I am not sure about. Charges, maybe. Ammunition, maybe. I'm still kind of new to this, so forgive me for that, but I'm not positive what sort of automation there is here. One thing to note, though, is this makes it easier to look at, because over here you see, you can just scroll through the list, see what actions she has available by seeing the usage. Based on what you have selected here, it'll show up there, and yeah, there you go. Now, as far as attack, this actually does mechanically do something, but we'll wait until we get to PCs with weapons before we look at that. Now, Better Rolls is a mod that will allow you, first of all, it makes your attack rolls look like that, like a real VTT, where it shows you your roll, shows you your damage. If you crit, it automatically shows you the crit addition. You can click on it, show what the exact numbers were, and you're good to go. If you don't have Better Rolls, this is what it looks like. Oh, look, there's your thing. Okay, I guess I got to click again. Oh, okay, I guess I got to click again. I mean, it's so normal. Okay, I rolls my 1 dice. I got a 19. Nice, I hit. Let's damage. Oh, no, I didn't crit. Okay, normal. Okay, yeah, okay, I guess I did 10 damage. I had to click 5 times to do my 1 attack. No, thank you. Use Better Rolls, and then you can just do this, or this. And Alt Roll and Roll are decided by these two. This is the information that shows up when you click one of those 2 buttons. So because, what do we, cast a spell? Cast a spell, all right, so let's uncheck this. I don't know why it changed my window, that's annoying. And now we click Roll, it no longer has the description. But if we click Alt Roll, it still has the description because that's here. And that's how that works. That's Better Rolls. This allows you to set a different critical threshold for a specific roll. No idea what this does. It like adds damage. It looks weird. I don't know. And I have no idea what any of this is. It didn't seem to really do anything. I think we're done with the monster sheet. This is a little biography, if you so choose. Standard stuff that goes on a character sheet all up here. You mouse over, you can see where you can edit it. And we are good. Let us move to the player character sheet. Now, here we go. This is pretty standard, same as we saw before. You can edit all this stuff, change their proficiencies, stats, whatnot. Exhaustion levels up here if you are using the Tidy 5e sheet. If you are not, then it is the default here, I believe. It's a little less clean, but still usable. Long rest is here. You click on that, but I'm not using that. I'm not going to bother. Just use Tidy 5e sheet. It looks so much nicer. Resource count. This is for if you've got a lot of resources. He has got his resource count to 3 for some reason, even though he only has 1 resource. But you could set that up to 20, and you have lots of boxes, and then you're good to go. Inventory. This is for cool inventory stuff. Now, let me show you a weapon. Here's his light crossbow. So you've got his description for the weapon there. You've got the weapon's properties. You've got the weapon usage, which again, I'm not sure this does anything. But this does something. This defines your roll. So it's a ranged weapon attack. It uses his default since he's a monk. That's, I believe, Dex. 1d8 plus at mod. You do need to put that in there if you want your mod to be added to your attack. Versatile damage. If you've got a versatile weapon, you would check that in, add something here, and then you would have an extra roll here for versatile damage. And yeah, if it involves a saving throw, you can put that in there. Chat message flavor. I haven't seen what that does, but you can play with it on your own. Better Rolls, this is the same as before. This determines what shows up in the roll. And effects, again, no idea what the hell that does. As far as items and stuff go, they're kind of the same as the weapon interface. You got, identified, attuned, all that stuff. If you want the description to be there. Now, the downside is the Foundry doesn't do any sort of automatic calculation whatsoever for your items. If you've got an item that does something, like let's look at Egar with his Belt of Dwarven Kind. Con plus 2. Yeah, it doesn't actually increase his con by 2. You have to manually do that. And same with pretty much everything else here. I don't know if Foundry is going to add a way for you to automatically have items do things like that. I will say the one thing that they do have is AC, with a mod, of course. There's a mod called Active Effects, I believe, that you have to manually enter your AC here with your Dex and Con because it won't factor those in. So for him, his AC would be 17, and then he has a shield, and this mod will actually factor in the shield. Otherwise, without that mod, Foundry doesn't do anything. Another bad thing about Foundry, this is something they really need to fix. This is my biggest annoyance with the Foundry system right now. Hopefully this part of the video will be obsolete very soon. But there's no way to add modifiers that change. This is the only way you could do it. These are 5e specific things. So, savage criticals, you can have, a reroll luck. These are very specific things that you have to check in that have to be hard-coded by whoever made the 5e setting for this, for Foundry. But there's no way to do more specific things than this. For example, Egar, being a barbarian, has rage. He also took Great Weapon Master, and he's also a zealot barbarian, which means he has divine fury. That's 3 different modifiers that can be on his attack/damage rolls. Foundry can't do that. And if you want to do that conveniently, you have to do what he did. He's got his +3 battle axe. He's got his +3 battle axe with rage. Effectively, 2 different weapons if he's using rage or not. And same if he's going to use Great Weapon Master or Divine Fury, which he hasn't added. But if he wants it to be convenient, he'll have to manually edit it. Otherwise, he will have to just type in the roll manually. Once he's like, oh, well, I'm using Divine Fury, there's no way to add it, so I guess /roll 1d, whatever the hell it is, I don't remember. Yep, that is the one problem with Foundry right now, is that it lacks toggles for adding damage and bonuses to your attacks easily. That needs to happen. But moving on. Features. So the features menu is where you would add things like class levels and things that you get for your class levels, or, feats and stuff like mobile he's got. And again, these do nothing mechanically to the Foundry. You have to manually add whatever they do. So let's say he got mobile. If he was like, yeah, dragged it over from the Compendium, assuming it's on there, there's no way to have it actually increase his feet by 10 feet. He has to do that manually. Now spells. Let's click on somebody who has spells. Marcus, he's our spellcaster. So spells are basically the same as items. They've got their description, they've got their details, although they've got different things set up here because they're spells. So they got their components, they've got whether you prepare them or not. For Sorks, everything they have is always prepared, but for a wizard, you would select this, and then you would have to check or uncheck this thing. And for other types of casters or monsters, you've got this kind of stuff. Spell effects, this is the same as weapon damage. You have to set what the spell does as far as its damage roll, and that kind of good stuff. Better rolls, same as before. Effects continues to do absolutely nothing as far as I can tell. So, that aside, depending on which character sheet you're using, you also get some tabs here. Now the tidy one gives you all sorts of good stuff. It gives you the standard 5e things. Over on this side, it gives you the background and biography, appearance, description if you want. Also gives you a nice journal. But if you do not have the tidy 5e sheet, you will see different things. Biography, yep. Without tidy 5e, all you get is one blob of text. So I recommend tidy 5e. Let's move on to some cool stuff. Measurements and moving. So seeing the ruler appear when you move, that's a mod, unfortunately. That doesn't happen normally. Normally, I believe you can hold control to get the ruler up. That's what I'm doing right now. Gotta click or right-click to get rid of it. Otherwise, you can click this to do it. Hold control if you want to draw a path that changes. And yeah, that's that. So targeting, this is a thing that you can do if you want to show to the DM who you're targeting. So this ruler menu is not actually a ruler. It is for AoEs. Let's say you got an AoE down on Mistra, and she does her thing. And you've also got a conal. You've got a cube. Got a ray. And you've got a trash can if you just want to throw it all away. Otherwise, you have to select it manually, like that. Is a mod that allows you to attach things to tokens. So this will allow you to attach an AoE, boom, to a token. If I do that, and then I do that, and then I do that, attached a token, boom. Now the AoE moves with her. So that's a mod. It is called Token Attacher. I will go through my mod list in a bit to show you what all that stuff is. All right, but we don't want her to have an AoE on, so let's just go ahead and trash it. All right. moving along. So tile controls. So when I was talking before about having multiple different maps instead of just the one background image, this is how you would do something like that. You would you could click open to select one manually and have it place on the map for you. I am instead going to draw an object, which will then pop up this menu and let me pick what I want it to be. So you could have you could paste the image URL of a map there if you wanted to add another map to your scene, or you could use this to add random obstacles and things, which is what I am going to do. We add a pillar looking thing there. All right. And that's how you would do that. You could have it as a token if you wanted to, but you don't really have any reason to have a pillar be a token. So instead you make it a tile. And that's what that is. And yeah, you could have that follow with the mod, etc. Here we go. This is for drawing random stuff. Use the pencil tool. I want a circle. I want a thing. I want a polygon. I want a scribble. And you can change the color of things by going to this cog and doing that. Or you can double click on something that you've already drawn and change it there. Don't need to demo that further. Now for some good stuff. Now this is where this VTT shines. Roll20 can do one of the things that I'm about to mention. And the fact that Foundry can do more makes it so much better. Walls. Let's make a wall. Boom. We made a wall. No big deal. Any VTT can do that. Let's continue the wall. You got to do that by holding Control. Nope, I don't want to continue the wall. Let's Control Z it because we're knowing how to use a computer. Another wall there. Oh, but I want to continue it from this side, so I'll click on that side, and boom, that's good enough. Not a great wall, but it's a wall, and it functions like a wall. There we go. Let me reset his vision, because right now you're seeing the, he's able to see gray in locations that he's already seen before. And if I have done something like that, nope, not that. If I've done something like that and I want to reset it back to default, I do that. Indeed, there we go, see? There is the fog exploration setting in action. All right, so we've got a wall. No big deal. Any VTT can do that if it's worth its salt. But what else can we do with Foundry? We've got different types of walls. This is called a terrain wall. Now, what this does, let's say you wanted this pillar to block a vision. Well, you could surround it with a regular wall, and then the player would just see a blob of black there and be like, okay, I guess there's something there. I don't know what it is. I can't see past it, so whatever. And you'd have to tell them, oh, it's a pillar. And they'd be like, oh, okay, there's a pillar there. Instead, you can use terrain walls. No, stop it, go away. Now what these do will be demonstrated in a moment. Grim. Now, boom. You can see the obstruction. You know what it is. It's some weird pillar looking thing that I can't see past. Well, it must be a pillar that is tall enough that I can't see over it. Good to know. That is what a terrain wall does. Basically, what it does is you can't see through two. So if you have a ring around something, you can see through one wall of the ring, but then it will hit the other wall of the ring and block your line of sight. You can create obstructions that the player can see but not see through. We have something of the opposite, which is a wall that is invisible. This is something that you cannot move through, but you can see through. Let's move along. Da-de-da-de-da-de-da-de-da. Oh, I can't go any further. That's because there is effectively a wall of glass there. Ideally, you would, put something in there, like an actual picture of glass, so that the player knows what's happening. But that's how you would do that. A wall that you can see through and not move through. Moving on, we have something called ethereal walls. I'm not sure why they gave it that name, but effectively it is the opposite of a glass wall. It is a wall that you cannot see through, but you can move through. So it's like a curtain, where you could be like, oh, there's a curtain there. You can't see through it, but the player wants to move through it because it's literally just a curtain. You just walk through it and you're through it. Well, there you go. Can't do that on Roll20, but you can do it on Foundry. Let's go with the next type of wall, which is not a wall at all. It is, in fact, a door. Now, this is a mechanical thing that players can interact with, as you shall see. We've got Grim. He's exploring the dungeon. Oh, hey, there's a Cambion. He's a friendly Cambion because it's hell, and believe it or not, Devils are actually less likely to kill you in hell than they are in the material plane. But, oh, there's a door. Oh, Jesus, is a black dragon. We're out here. The player can open and close doors. Let's see what the player sees. I'm the player. Nice. Functions exactly the same. Can they lock it, though? No, they cannot. Okay, good. I just learned that. The DM can lock doors. The player cannot. All right. So, boom. We go through the door. We see the dragon. Oh, boy. We're in a fight. Let's move on, though. Secret doors. Let's add a secret door. All right. Let's select Grim. Grim, over on the Grim menu, has no idea what that's there. Look at there. It's just a regular wall. Nice. And that is how you can do secret doors here, where the GM can toggle them on and off, open and close, but the player cannot. Now, as for the rest of this, clone, clear, snap to walls, I don't know, some of it works. Let's add some lights. So we've got a draw light source. Well, let's have this dragon be carrying a light for some reason, because he's weird. And now let's go over to Grim, and we can see, hey, there's a light there. Nice. Thanks, dragon. You're carrying a light for me. Oh, you're casting Druidcraft. That's cool. He's red. That means he's going to kill me. Moving on. We have transition to daylight and transition to darkness. Now, this is something that I said I was going to demo that I just now remembered and I didn't demo. Configure this. The darkness level can also be changed here. Boom. Transitioning to night. It is getting darker. I'm sure you can tell. And if I am right, I believe, yep, darkness level's changing. So that's a way to change that without editing the map and to do it gradually. Now let's go back to light because screw the dark. Nobody likes you, dark. And this resets the fog of war. I've done that a couple times already. Now then, this is another cool feature. You can place ambient sound effects. So local versus global, this is just whether or not it'll be blocked by walls or not. Global, this AoE will not be blocked by walls. Local, it will be blocked by walls. So there's no like sound bouncing or, you know, any cool audio effects like that because, I mean, it's just a web-based VTT, not a friggin' audio game engine. But, you know, it's something. This is probably for a YouTube link that I don't know how to use because I haven't gotten it to work. Easing. Yep, that'll make it louder when you get closer. All right, now let's paste this in here. And now, let's do it over here. Grim, you can hear scary noises coming from the dragon. As he gets closer, they get louder. And that's ambient volume, ambient sound effects. That is another thing you can do with Foundry that is very cool. Okay, this is a mod that I believe I already showed for aligning the grid. And this is a mod for Simple Fog of War. So, we have shown everything except the mods. In order to use Foundry to its greatest extent, you will need to install lots of mods. I have 37, I counted. Without mods, you have dumb stuff like I showed before where you have to click 5 times to do a single attack. No thanks. Use better rolls. So let's get into some of these. This is the thing that allows you to add up to 20 resources on the character sheet. You saw that. About time. I don't use that. Maybe later. Actually, private roles. Normally, I believe if a GM does a private role, it will tell the players that the GM did a private role. This will make it so it doesn't tell them anything. Ambient doors. Yep, this is the door sound effects that I mentioned. Better NPC sheet. This is one that I'm not using, but I installed it just so the players can use it if they feel like it. Better rolls for 5e. Now, this is the thing that does the thing that I just said. It makes it so when you click a button, you get this and not have to click 4 more times in order to complete your attack. That is better rolls. Beyond 20, this is for people with D&D Beyond. It does some stuff. I don't have D&D Beyond. I just installed it anyway, so I can't demo it. Chat merge. This normally, if one person does a bunch of stuff, it will appear as separate boxes, but chat merge makes it so they're here together in the same box. And I can delete them. Combat utility belt. Okay, this one does so much stuff. So these are all combat utility belt stuff. So the reason I installed it is because I wanted a convenient way to remember conditions and let's engage combat. Yep, there we go. Conditions. So there is a default menu here for status effects in Foundry, but this one's better, and it comes with a combat utility belt. So what you can do is make somebody concentrate on a spell, and then if they take damage, I took 10 damage. Pow. Grim took damage, and his concentration is being tested. It reminds you, if you set up that somebody's concentrating, that they need to make concentration saving throws. So that's pretty cool. That's why I have that, because that's something that me and my players are always forgetting. Deselection. Normally, if you select something and then select nothing, you can't. If I clicked here, it would remain Grim selected, and I would have to highlight a box before it would unselect Grim. I don't like that, because no interface that I've ever used in my entire life functions like that. So I installed this mod where it functions normally, where if you click on nothing, it selects nothing. D&D Beyond Character Sheet for 5e. This is the base mod, I believe, for this thing. This enhances this mod. Again, I don't have 5e, or I don't have D&D Beyond, so I can't demo it. Dynamic effects. So this is what I was talking about before. Let's find out what. Teleport to token. Oh yeah, auto-calcing armor. This is the only thing I use it for, as far as I know. And this is the only automatic calculation of AC that I could find, and automatic calculation of literally anything that I could find. But this mod does some other stuff too that I don't know. This could be useful. So the way they have Foundry set up is on a single instance of Foundry running on a computer or server, you can only have one world active. If you have no world active, players can't do anything. So you have to not only activate a world, but you can only have one world active. So if you're a DM that DMs multiple games, you would either need to run Foundry multiple times in order to have the players able to, log in and edit their character sheets and do that kind of stuff between games, or install this mod. So what this mod would do is give players a link that will let them edit their character sheet when your world is not active. So that's kind of a big thing for anybody who's running multiple games if you're going to use Foundry, because if you have the hardware for it, you could run multiple Foundry instances. Wait, so that is actually a very important thing, because technically the Foundry license only allows you to run a single instance of Foundry at once. So if you are DMing multiple games, you're screwed. Your players are screwed. Only one can be active at a time. So the players who are not in the active game cannot edit their characters or look at the maps, unless you have this mod and then they can edit their characters. But yeah, that is one dumb thing about Foundry. It's a stupid restriction, and this is the only way around it, technically, legally. Anyway, follow me. So follow me allows you to have one token follow another token. And what that looks like is this. I have to select him. I have to right-click him. What the hell do I do now? And in order to do it, you would highlight them all, right-click on the one you want to do this, have Adult Black Dragon start following Grim. Boom. All right. And now it's a little awkward at this point, but that's what it does. You can have a token follow another token. It looks like it sets it to it. Okay, so it sets it to his previous position. So it's not. Yeah, if you're using arrow keys, it works pretty good. Undo the follow. There we go. Now, alternatively, you could say mount Grim onto Adult Black Dragon. Boom. He's now a Dragon Rider. It's kind of the same thing, except for they're moving together in the same space. And I wonder, can I move him to the middle so it makes more sense? Yeah, nice. So yeah, whenever the dragon moves, it moves Grim simultaneously. And that is how that works. All right, GM token drag visibility. All right, so that's a cool one. So normally, when you're the GM and you're dragging a token, the vision limitations would stay up. So it's kind of annoying. Let's say you want to drag your tokens from one side of the map to another side of the map because they went through a teleporter or something, I don't know, or went up a staircase. Well, normally you would still have your vision restricted while you're dragging, so you would have no idea where you're actually dragging the token to. But this mod does what you see here. It makes it so you can see everything while you're dragging, and you're good to go. Grid scale menu. Now, this is what I used at the start to scale this map. This thing, grid scale menu. You can do all sorts of cool stuff. Size it this way. Oops, I just messed it up. Now it's all Papega. Go back. Size it 3 by 3. Good enough. Whatever. I'm not going to bother doing anything more. It's fine. All right, that's what that does. Now, item containers. Now, here is a good one. This allows you to implement things like bags of holding. And let me show you because Marcus has one. Bag of holding. So normally you would just throw everything in your inventory and have to figure out for yourself like which things you're actually carrying and which things are in your bag of holding. But with this mod, when you edit a bag, you can see what's in it. And you can drag things into it, you can drag things out of it, and manage it that way. You can put your money in it. It's pretty good. So that's a very useful mod if you have things like bags and bags of holding backpacks. I believe I may have mentioned this mod before. I don't use it because it seems like it just does nothing but automate tons of stuff that I would really rather not automate. Mount up, we already discussed. That's how I put Grim on the dragon's back. Music assist. This is the thing that I keep saying I don't know how to get working. But supposedly it allows you to link directly to YouTube for your music tracks and for your ambient audio and maybe even things other than YouTube. Not enough NPC, 5e NPC generator. I haven't used this, but it looks kind of cool. So if you want to have NPCs be automatically generated, you can use this thing to do it. I installed it because I might want to check it out at some point. Permission viewer. Yes. So the permission viewer is what adds these diamonds and these dots so that you can see at a glance what permissions players have. I believe the diamond means they have limited. So limited all for all players, and the dot means that that's Grim, so he can see his own character sheet. We already went over pings, so that's good. The playlist importer is what I used for my playlist. Normally to get playlists working, you would have to manually add each and every song. But if you do some stuff, you set up your directory structure a certain way and put the music files on your Foundry's file server, Playlist Importer will automatically do all of that for you. Point of interest sheet, that just allows you to make a token that is a point of interest because I want him to. So yeah, the POI sheet lets you basically make a token that is just nothing but text. Pop out. So this is a feature that some people like. It lets you pop out and boom. There we go. And you have a popped out sheet of your character. Now there is a setting you can configure it to a smaller window than that, but I don't use that for the time being. All right, select tool everywhere. I'm pretty sure that the select tool is not available on some of these. This just makes it available on all of them. Show door controls makes it so the door controls are always visible for players, I'm pretty sure, so that they don't get confused. Show drag distance, that's what I was talking about before, where it shows the drag distance. Simple fog of war is a feature that people really like for good reason, because sometimes dynamic lighting is a hassle and you don't need it. Let's edit this map to be such a map. Boom. All right, so let's say, for example, that we had, my Elistari content map where there's no walls. I don't know how to make walls out of this. I just want to reveal areas that the players have been before, because as you can see, the unrevealed areas are a wasteland with nothing there. And I'd rather them just be hidden than just be blank. So that's what Simple Fog of War is for. It's pretty good, but you have to use a mod to get it. So let's show you how that works. There. Simple Fog of War enabled. Now it's all black. We'll reveal the dragon here on Grim's screen. Yep, dragon revealed. Let's go back and start revealing more stuff. Moving on. This is another alternate sheet that I don't use, but I felt like having it be an option. Now the furnace, it basically enhances this menu. Lets you do texture, different types of stuff here. I haven't done it too much. I just installed it because it sounded cool. But yeah, that's what that does. allows you to do more advanced macros. I haven't used it yet, but it sounds cool. Split journal allows you to split up a journal into multiple entries. Tokens, that's that thing that I talked about over here. This lets you toggle token vision on and off for yourself. Combat, so this lets you easily modify somebody's initiative if you need to. And playlists, it does some other stuff. So this is just a nice quality of life mod that I installed. All right, what else we got? Tidy UI. This is the reason why my module management tab even looks like this, is because of Tidy UI. Normally it's just a big menu and you don't have the option to toggle the module information on and off and stuff like that. Also, it cleans up this menu. Normally this is all expanded and just takes up tons of space, but Tidy UI makes it smaller. Tidy Sheet, we went over that. That's my favorite character sheet for the time being. Tiny Tokens, I might start using this. I haven't yet. So Token Action HUD is an alternate to the token bar. I don't use Token Action HUD because it's not compatible with better roles, so forget it. Token Attacher, that is the thing that I showed you over here where I put an AoE on Mistra and let her move around and it stuck to her. Now Token Bar. Token Bar is this. You can edit its settings to be compatible with better roles, which is why I use it, which is what I did, and this is what that looks like. But yeah, whenever you have a token selected, it puts a lot of cool stuff up here, so you don't have to jump into the character sheet and find what you want. Chances are you can just click the token, go up here, boom, bam, do some stuff, and we're good. Token mold, let's come back to token mold, because it's a little complicated. Let's skip ahead to token tooltip. That's this thing that keeps popping up every time I mouse over something. Now, it's a little annoying. Sometimes it gets stuck, as you can see here, in which case you have to find a token and mouse over it. And then it disappears. But yeah, it shows you some cool stuff. Shows you the AC, shows you the health. Put his health back to what it was. Shows you their passive perception, passive investigation, and their movement. I like it, so I installed it. Now, torch adds, right-click, adds this symbol. That basically gives him lighting automatically. So if you go in here, as you can see, it automatically added his light distance. Because the light spell and the torch are common things that players like to do if they don't have dark vision. So that just gives them an easy way to do it. And is wall height. So rather than walls that you can either just see through or not, you can set height. So let's do this. Let's go to walls. We will set this wall here. We will edit it by double-clicking and set its wall height. The top of the wall. The bottom of the wall will go negative infinity because it's fine. Top of the wall. This wall is only 20 feet high. Update. All right, so Grim, being on the ground, can't see up there. Hey, what's up there? What's going on? What's going on up there? Go him over here. He still can't see because there's no elevation set. But if you go in here, this is the elevation right here. Set that to 20. Now look at that. Grim can see over the wall because the wall is 20 feet high and Grim is 20 feet high. Now, unfortunately, there's nothing like ridiculously awesome like blocking off his vision down here because he's too far from the edge. That would be a little ridiculous. I'm happy with this, where you can set a wall height and then have people on top of it or below it and adjust their vision accordingly. The last thing that I said I was going to show you was token mold. Now, I haven't used this too much, but it is very cool. So token mold, what that allows you to do, that's this thing up here. It allows you to make tokens automatically randomize when you drag them out. So let's say you have an adult black dragon. Sure. We can do things like add numbers. That's why there's a 1 after him. He's adult black dragon 1. He's adult black dragon 2. He's adult black dragon 3. That's why those are there, because I added numbers to them. What you can also do is something funny. Let's not use numbers. Let's instead use adjectives. Momentary adult black dragon. Okay, I don't know. Erroneous adult black dragon. Oh, wow. Okay. Eventful adult black dragon. Okay, well, I don't know what these things are, but they're different. They've got different names. They've got adjectives that describe them. It's up to you what that means. But it is a way to automatically distinguish your tokens. And what's fun, base name. Replace with randomized name. Now, you can do some funny stuff here. You can have a name that is randomly generated that sounds reasonable. I don't know if that sounds reasonable because I don't speak whatever language that is. But you can at least attempt to pronounce it. Trisyansiakaku. That is this dragon's name. He is Trisyansiakaku. What is this dragon's name? This dragon's name is Liliguvoldilist. Liliguvoldilist. There we go. We got two different dragons with unique names that you can't say, but you might be able... Oh, looky there. Nice. So you can change it to something that might be more pronounceable. So I'll set it to English, save and close. Okay, now this looks a little more reasonable for an English speaker, I guess. Uptarnling. Okay, dude. Your name's stupid. Who's the next one? Frad Hoteritus. There you go. And that is one of the things token mold can do. What else can it do? Well, you can have it automatically roll HP. You may not have realized it, but their HP, every time I dragged one out, their HP was being rolled. So let's do it again with their funny names. And as you can see, their HP is all different because it's being rolled every time. That is what another thing that this mod can do. Stat overlay. Stat overlay lets you do some other stuff like there. Now he's got a little 23 there because his strength is 23. I haven't used that yet. Maybe I'll start. But it's a way that you can add more data to the token, which might actually make this pop-up obsolete now that I think about it. Maybe I'll have to look into that. That is a demo of my Foundry setup. Now, as far as how the game runs, let's pretend like we have a combat. Let's go back over here. We have our combat already set up. So Midnight. If I'm Midnight's player, I click on her, I can have my character sheet open, but instead I'm just going to use these because I'm going to show off. She's going to cast a spell, which unfortunately in her case I don't have it set up because her stat block literally says do whatever the hell you want, you're the god of magic. So she's going to cast Time Stop and walk over here with her free 5 turns and then do nothing because AO will slap her across the face if she interferes in mortal affairs too much. Grim. Grim's going to be like, ooh, a hell wasp. I'm going to punch it. It's not on this list, unfortunately. I don't know why. So we're going to go over here and monk the crap out of this thing. All right, what do we got? We got a 25 for 6. Yep, that'll hit. A 16 for 11. That will not hit. I'm sorry. This thing has an 11 AC or a 19 AC, and I don't know why. But you did do 6 damage with your 1 on your D6. Was that a D6? No, that was a D8. Congratulations. All right. And you know what he's going to do? He's going to be like, you know what? Screw you and your 19 AC. We're going to spend 2 key points, which you just lower it. Or you go over here and lower it here because that's his second bar. I'm not going to do it because I don't feel like editing his character and messing it up and forgetting what I did. But he's going to do that, and then he's going to punch the wasp 2 more times. Yeah, both hit now. You take 20 more damage, son. And then Grim's turn is over. So you click this button, and now Egar goes next. He runs up, uses his bonus action to enter a rage. Oh, wow, it actually subtracted it. That's pretty awesome. And then he's going to beat the crap out of it with his battle axe. It's probably dead, but he's got more damage to add because while he did have his rage set up, he did not have his Divine Fury set up as one of the macros. So we're going to have to go over here and click on Divine Fury. Okay. So it adds 1d6 plus half your barbarian level. I don't know why it is doing that, but, you know, whatever. So half his barbarian level is 7. He rolled, we'll just give him this one, a 6. So we add, subtract 19, subtract 12, and then subtract the 6 plus 7, so subtract 13. All right. This thing is now at negative whatever. I'm not going to worry about it. We'll just pretend he's invincible and is still going to live. Now, whose turn is it next? It is Gat's turn. Gat is going to run over and inflict wounds. That's a good one. Cast it at level 1? Sure. Consume spell slot? I shouldn't have done that. I'm messing up their character sheets. Whatever, I'll just give them a rest after this. Deals 8 damage. Well, I would subtract it if I didn't already have him at 0 HP. Now, what's Marcus going to do? Marcus is going to go run into LOS. He's going to cast a spell. He's going to cast... what's a good one? What's a good one? Chaos Ball, sure. Let's not consume the spell slot. Place measured template. Pow. Boom. There's his Chaos Ball. He damages everyone. Thanks, Marcus. You're a jerk. Now, saving throws would have to be rolled. It's dexterity. Okay, I don't like that I have to pick. But, okay. No, I picked the wrong one. Whatever. You do that for everybody. See if they succeed or save. Apply damage. And then, unfortunately, you have to go to this if you want to remove this thing. And then we go to the next turn. Hellwasp. Ah, finally. What can this Hellwasp do? He can sting. What'd you roll? All right, he misses literally everybody around him. What else can he do? He's got multi-attack. 2 attacks, 1 sting, 1 sword talons. All right, sword talons. Yeah, somebody's taken 12. And it's magic, too, because his attacks are magical. Whatever, somebody takes 12. And then we come around to Ramin, who is the party healer. He's going to walk up. He's going to say, this is the material plane. This thing is a fiend. Therefore, go away. And then this thing is like, oh no, charisma save. It goes away. And there you go. There's a combat. That is about all that I can think of to show you for this Foundry demo. You can actually store combats here. Refresh. Okay, so that resets the combat. Tracked resource. I don't know what this does. Boom. You can have a different combat. So you can save previous combats if you want. Or if you have simultaneous combats going on at once, you could do that too using this. So that's a cool thing. All right, so like I was just saying, I believe that is about it. Hopefully, this entices you to stop giving Roll20 money for their low-quality product. I mean, hopefully this helps you decide what virtual tabletop you would like to use for your online D&D games. Yeah. See ya.